Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host for the week, Ming, and today we're gonna start off our news by talking about Ubisoft. So yeah, if you've been caught up to the recent news, Ubisoft is not exactly in a very good state, and this week just proves that shit's just getting worse. Anyway, first things first, Ubisoft has decided that they will disband the team responsible for the development of Prince of Persia The Lost Crown. So if you don't know, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown was a 2D platformer game that of course features the Prince of Persia series. And originally, the game was supposed to have a sequel, but because the game did not meet sales expectations, the sequel's not happening and they disbanded the team. So yeah, that sucks for all of you that really like the IP and really like the game. Unfortunately, you guys are not getting a sequel. And other than that, Ubisoft has also announced that Assassin's Creed Shadows Collector's Edition will no longer have 3-day early access and will also have its Seasons Pass removed. But the good thing is it will be $50 cheaper. So yeah, it will be slightly cheaper and it will remove the 3 days early access and the inclusion of the season pass. Honestly, I don't really know what to feel about this because if you've been caught up with the news, Assassin's Creed Shadow has a ton of controversy surrounding it, like really a lot. And I mean, it was all due to these controversies. That's why the game itself got delayed up to February next year. So I don't really know if this $50 cheaper will really help it a lot, but time will tell if it does help boost the sales of Assassin's Creed Shadows Collector's Edition. But so far, I don't think things are gonna look good for Assassin's Creed Shadow. But hey, time will tell. Let's see when it comes. Anyway, moving on from Ubisoft, let's talk about a game that was really successful when it was first released this year, and that is Black Myth Wukong. So Black Myth Wukong will be having their PS5 physical edition be releasing soon. And yeah, that's really good for all of you gamers out there that like to have a physical copy of the game that you own. I myself like to own physical copies of Switch games, PS5 games. It just feels nicer to have the game and to actually own the game, Unlike if let's say you have the digital version, sometimes it feels kind of dubious, I guess. Like what happens if your account is lost or something like that? You will not have access to the games anymore and you have to purchase it all over again. So yeah, I myself am a huge fan of physical games, so that's definitely great news. And if you haven't played Black Myth Wukong yet, definitely try it out and maybe look towards the PS5 physical edition and buy it. Moving on from that, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will be releasing on the 30th January 2025. You might be wondering, what do you mean by Marvel Spider-Man 2? It's already available on the PS5. What I mean is Marvel Spider-Man 2, the PC version, will be releasing on the 30th of January. So yeah, this originally PlayStation exclusive game will be coming to the PC like all the other previous games, and it will include all the post-launch updates by default, so you don't have to go and download the updates or wait for any of these updates separately, which is definitely great news. You're basically getting the full experience on release, which is great. And I personally think the Marvel Spider-Man games are pretty fun, although Marvel Spider-Man 2 didn't really change the formula of the game too much, but it's Spider-Man. It's still a pretty decent game, I would say overall, at least compared to other superhero games out there like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. So yeah. Anyways, other than that, Marvel Spider-Man 2 also announced that there will be no DLC planned for Marvel Spider-Man 2. So whether or not that's actually good news is debatable. Some people like having DLC because that means more content. Some people don't like DLC because, well, the game should already include this DLC. So yeah, I'm personally on the fence. Some DLC is fine, some DLC is not fine. It is what it is. Anyway, that's basically all the main news we have this week. Now we'll move on to some releases that you can get your hands on right now. Starting off with Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC, available on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. Other than that, we also have Call of Duty Black Ops 6 releasing this week, available on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, and PC. Um, Personally, in terms of Call of Duty, I personally don't see the hype anymore. Like back then, sure. The most fun Black Ops game I played was, I think, Black Ops 3, and I personally think that Black Ops 3 was pretty good. But after that, it's kind of just the same thing and on repeat. So yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Call of Duty, sure, pick it up. But honestly, nowadays there's like way more shooter games out there, be it FPS or third person shooter, or just basic team deathmatch games. Like there's so many options out there right now that you don't really have to look at Call of Duty. But if Call of Duty is your thing, sure, go for it. But otherwise, it's probably a pass. Then the last title that we'll feature this week is Sonic X Shadow Generations, available on PS5, PS4, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, as well as PC. So Sonic X Shadow Generations is a pretty interesting game because it's effectively kind of like two games in one. It's your typical good old Sonic game where you just run around tracks and you occasionally fight bosses and stuff like that. But the cool thing about this is, of course, it has the brand new graphics, and it's two games in one because, well, you get to play the Sonic version of the game as well as the Shadow version of the game. So yeah, one is you play Sonic as the main character, the other one is you play Shadow as the main character. So far, the game itself seems pretty good. I mean, most of the clips come from Shadow's perspective because Shadow's just the coolest Sonic, let's face it, right? And the game seems really smooth, the movement's very fluid, and Shadow has some pretty interesting mechanics that is vastly different from the good old Sonic games. So yeah, it's pretty different, pretty good overall, at least with the reviews that I've seen. And if you are a fan of Sonic, or well, Shadow in this case, definitely pick up the game and try it out. Anyway, that's more or less all the games that we have for you this week, and now we move on to our last and final segment, Free Things. So this week, Epic Game Store is giving out a game called Moving Out, so be sure to grab it before it's no longer available. And that basically marks the end of our episode for this week. Once again, I was your host for the week, Ming, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys next week on another episode of Game Things.